2021, it was a year of adversity for you. You had that ankle injury and the concussion symptoms. At such a young age, did that experience test your drive and ambition for this sport, or did you not sway away from your goals throughout that year?
Yeah, like I said, it was a year of adversity, but to me, like there's never any doubts. So just another thing to overcome, another step on the journey. So yeah, it was difficult. Like the concussion stuff was very tricky for me because we didn't really know the root of the cause. But and it's the first time I couldn't really train through or around anything. Like I got a headache whenever I started doing anything slightly harder than walking too fast. So that was difficult, but I knew we was going to get over it and get through it, and here we are.
If you could pinpoint where that came from, would you have any idea?
We think it was accumulative. I had a few significant knocks like consecutively, like a few weeks apart. So we think perhaps maybe it was accumulative. But yeah, it was really tricky. I had so many different scans. I had like blood tests. I went to the PI. I was talking to specialists. Like couldn't really figure it out. Like say if my heart rate got over 130, like I'd get a banging headache. And like I could push through, but then the next day it would be like hard to get out of bed. So it's kind of one of those ones where it was tricky because it was finding that balance between like testing it and like actually hindering myself. So that was probably my most complicated injury to have because it wasn't like necessarily like physical and I couldn't see it and see the problem.
How long did those symptoms persist?
I think it ended up being about 4 months.
4 months. 4 months of inactivity, basically. And how did you feel throughout that time? And what did you do to overcome it?
I just basically just found ways around it. Like eventually, I tried different like recovery stuff. I was trying to like just different ways to like heal my brain essentially. It eventually got to the point where like say I could do like a brisk walk, I could sit on the bike, I could lift weights. I was in the gym every day watching practices and just kind of just trying to find ways around it. Like for the first month I pushed through it, which I think was actually what caused it. Like I had the headaches for about 4 weeks before I was like, oh, actually, like it's starting to get to the point where I can't push through it. And then that was when it completely kind of went downhill. But yeah, I pushed through it for the first few weeks. They got what like gradually worse and worse. Me, like I'm stubborn, so I was still grappling live, I was still sparring, I was still doing all that, and kind of just being a little bit too much of a meathead with it. But I had a fight coming up, so I was kind of just I was just like, oh, it'll go away. Like usually stuff like that goes away. And this time it didn't. So kind of just taught me to be a bit smarter as well.
Fighters are probably the most stubborn people in any sport, right? And you guys are your own worst enemy. So maybe that could have, played a part in just it lasting longer, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say that like I think I got so I woke up with a headache on the Friday, and then Macy was actually fighting. So um I went in to do her rounds on Sunday, and I said to her like I was like, oh, I've got a really bad headache, and I ended up sparring through it. And then I think it was like a week and a half later, I said to her, I was like, I can't even train. So yeah, definitely my own worst enemy with that. Like I said, I always say my stubbornness is one of my biggest strengths, but I think this time it was actually like say my biggest weakness. So just learning to be smarter from now on.
You're in California, which means, that you're away from home. Was it difficult to kind of go through this basically alone without the family? Because, family can give you certain comforts that, regular people or friends cannot.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very fortunate. Like I have built myself like a close circle out here. I have some really good friends. Like my coaches, my teammates are, they feel like family, and they were there to support me. Like, I had all the help I could have out here. Like I was in contact with my family back home. So I didn't really like have that hardship of like I never felt alone, like I say, I've got a very great kind of team of people out here with me too. So luckily, like I say, I'm very fortunate for the support system I have, and I definitely made things easier for me having them around me.
When did you actually get back into full contact training?
I couldn't tell you really. It was the end of last year, I think. Um, yeah, it was a few weeks after I was meant to fight Whitmire. Because I remember we were discussing maybe trying to push that fight back, and then we were like, oh, I don't know if I'll be ready. And I think it ended up being like about a month after I was scheduled to fight her. So that would have been like what, November, December time. Um, maybe no, I think it was October, November time because we're looking at getting fights for early this year. So yeah, it was towards the back end of last year, but yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah, yeah. And what did you slowly, when you slowly transition back into the full contact stuff, what did you start with?
Like I say, it would have been like a lot of like, it was slowly like pads and then drilling and grappling. Obviously like full sparring was the last thing to come in, and controlled with partners that I trust, because like I say, we still didn't really know the cause of it. We were assuming that it was concussion. I didn't know if it was going to come back. Like, and it's also like trying to find that balance of being hesitant too, because after so long, like I didn't want to like every little time I had a little bit of pain in my head, knee go, oh, it's back. I was trying also not to kind of be my own worst enemy with that and just go in there confident and be like, no, I'm fine. It's like, because it is hard, like say, like going back to sparring, like, everyone get hit in the head and stuff. But I just, like I say, I remember going into my first sparring session and I was just like, nope, I'm healed, like completely fine, like just acted like it never happened and it was all good.
How did it feel to have that, like that moment of, I'm all good now. Like I could go in there and train as hard as I want and not worry about that stuff.
Oh, I was so happy. Like say I had two back-to-back injuries, like, and all I do and all I've ever done is train full time. So for me, it was kind of yeah, it was completely like out of my comfort zone, not training, if that makes sense. Like I felt like part of me was missing. Like I was the kid that was sat on the side of the mats, like with her arms crossed, looking all miserable and sorry for herself. Like so for me, it was a huge relief to get back on those mats and kind of just get back to work and like put that behind me. And like I say, it's not affected me since. So I've been all good for the last, well, what, 5 months
Yeah,
maybe.
5 months. You got this fight coming up on March 19th, and Elise Reed, she has one fight in the UFC. She took that fight, a weight class, I think 2 weight classes above her normal weight class. Tough, tough
Well,
girl.
yeah,
Yeah,
20.
tough girl. What are your overall thoughts on her and her skill set?
Yeah, like so she's another like tough fighter. She's I don't think there's much break in her, which is good. Like I'm gonna have to go out there and actively look for a finish. I don't think she's gonna. I definitely don't see her quitting. She's a tough chick. I kind of like don't anticipate. I anticipate the best version of her. I don't anticipate like anything in particular. Like I know she's a solid striker. I know she's had quite a few grappling exchanges in her fights and stuff. So for me, it's just kind of like I'm going out there and I'm just gonna make sure that I'm prepared all round and expect her to come in like fully prepared all round and I just want to be the better fighter on the night.
When people look at this matchup, right, they see maybe a clash in styles, right? Do you see a clash in styles? Do you see her being more of the striker and you being more of the grappler, or is it more than that?
I think like on paper it certainly looks more like the stereotypical striker first grappler, but I also think a lot of people underestimate the fact that I do have an extensive striking background myself. And like you say, she isn't a slouch on the ground. She has had quite a few fights where it has gone to the ground, so I'm sure that it's going to end up being a very well-rounded fight and a very entertaining fight for everybody, and hopefully catch people by surprise a little bit.
And it seems like you spent a lot of time, in the weight room in the last year. How stronger do you feel compared to your last fight?
I've been lifting weights since I was 15. That was one of the huge things when I started training full time, like my strength and conditioning. I train a lot with Will Wayland back home. He still writes my programs. He's powering. His Instagram's powering through. He's one of the most qualified guys. So I'm confident that I'm always making strength gains. Like even when I'm cutting weight and I'm close to fight weight, like people always say like how strong I feel, which is a huge thing, especially in the women's divisions. Because I'd say that a lot of us aren't known for our strengths per se, but like I say, I think it's very important. I hate to think how injured I'd be if I didn't lift. It's good for injury prevention. So yeah, like I say, I've lifted consistently for the past 7 years now. So like I say, I feel like I'm consistently improving. It's not even really over the last year. Obviously, I was lifting a lot during the ankle injury, so I suppose that probably did help a lot. But I'd say that I'm always kind of, like I say, I'm always making those strength gains as well as with my cardio and everything too. So I hope that every fight I'm coming out, as a completely different, well improved fighter.
By looking at pictures, right? You know, a lot of people will dissect pictures of people from last year to this year, especially athletes. And from what I've observed, you look different physically. It seems like from your latest pictures.
Thanks. Like I say, I'm training hard, and hopefully everything's starting to pay off. I'm also obviously, growing up as well, which probably helps. But yeah, like say, like I'm always training hard. I'm always working all round, and I'm confident that it's gonna hopefully keep paying off. So thank you.